Good morning. I want to tell you about Dorothy, a 67-year-old retired teacher from Ohio who thought she was doing everything right. Every morning for 15 years, she started her day the same way: a glass of fresh orange juice, 2 slices of whole wheat toast with butter, and a cup of coffee. It seemed healthy, balanced, normal, the kind of breakfast millions of seniors eat every single day. But 3 months ago, Dorothy's world changed. She was sitting in her cardiologist's office, staring at test results that showed her arteries were more clogged than a highway during rush hour. Her blood pressure had climbed to dangerous levels. Her cholesterol numbers were through the roof. And the most shocking part, her doctor told her that her beloved breakfast routine had been slowly destroying her heart for years. Dorothy isn't alone. There's a breakfast combination that millions of people over 60 eat religiously, believing it's healthy, when in reality it's creating a perfect storm in their cardiovascular system. And if you're eating this combination, you need to know what it's doing to your heart before it's too late. Before we dive deep into this life-changing information, I'd love to know where you're joining me from today. Drop a comment below with your location, and if you've ever wondered why your energy crashes mid-morning or why you feel sluggish after breakfast, stick around. The answer might surprise you. Now let's talk about what happened to Dorothy and why this seemingly innocent breakfast combination is silently wreaking havoc on seniors' hearts across the country. The morning Dorothy's life changed started like any other. She woke up at 7, shuffled to the kitchen in her slippers, and began her ritual. First, she poured herself a tall glass of orange juice, not the processed kind, but real, fresh squeezed juice from the oranges her neighbor brought from Florida. She felt good about this choice. After all, everyone knows vitamin C is important, especially for older adults. Next came the toast. 2 slices of whole grain bread, the kind the commercial said was good for heart health. She spread real butter on top, not margarine, because she'd read that natural fats were better than processed ones. A reasonable choice, she thought. Finally, her coffee. Black, strong, the way she'd been drinking it since her 20s. Nothing fancy, just a simple cup to wake up her mind and get her day started. This breakfast had become as automatic as breathing. Dorothy never questioned it. It felt balanced, sensible, wholesome. But what Dorothy didn't know was that this exact combination was creating a cascade of dangerous reactions in her body every single morning. The orange juice, despite being fresh and natural, was delivering a massive hit of sugar to her system. Even though it came from fruit, her body processed it almost identically to drinking liquid candy. Within minutes of finishing that glass, her blood sugar spiked dramatically. Her pancreas scrambled to produce insulin to handle the sugar rush. But at 67, her insulin sensitivity wasn't what it used to be. The toast, even though it was whole grain, added another layer of carbohydrates to an already sugar-loaded system. The bread broke down into glucose, adding fuel to an already raging fire. And the butter, while it wasn't the worst part of the meal, it contributed saturated fat at exactly the wrong moment, when her body was already struggling to process the sugar overload. The coffee created its own problems. The caffeine caused her blood vessels to constrict just when her heart was working overtime to process all that sugar. Her blood pressure spiked, her heart rate increased. And because she was drinking it on an empty stomach before eating solid food, the coffee amplified every negative effect of the sugar crash that would inevitably follow. But here's the most dangerous part. Dorothy felt fine. She had energy. She felt satisfied. She went about her morning routine without any obvious symptoms. The damage was happening silently, invisibly, meal after meal, day after day, year after year. The sugar spikes were causing inflammation in her arteries. The constant insulin surges were making her cells more resistant to insulin over time. The combination of caffeine and sugar was putting chronic stress on her cardiovascular system. And the inevitable energy crash that came a few hours later was signaling that her body was losing the battle against this daily assault. For 15 years, Dorothy thought she was taking care of herself. She was eating whole grains, getting her vitamins, staying hydrated. She had no idea that this breakfast combination was slowly but surely setting her up for the heart problems that would eventually land her in that cardiologist's office. Now you might be thinking, but wait, orange juice has vitamin C, whole grain bread has fiber, and coffee has antioxidants. How can this be bad? And you'd be right to question this. Each of these foods individually has some benefits. But when you combine them in this specific way, at this specific time of day, for someone over 60, they create a perfect storm that's absolutely devastating for heart health. Let me explain exactly what happens in your body when you eat this combination, and why it's so much more dangerous for seniors than for younger people. When you're over 60, your body doesn't handle sugar the way it used to. Your insulin sensitivity naturally decreases with age. Your metabolism slows down. Your body's ability to recover from blood sugar spikes diminishes. What might have been perfectly fine when you were 30 becomes a serious problem when you're 60, 70, or 80. That glass of orange juice contains about 24 grams of sugar. To put that in perspective, that's equivalent to eating 6 teaspoons of pure sugar first thing in the morning. Your body absorbs this sugar rapidly because there's no fiber to slow it down. The juicing process removes most of the fiber that would naturally be present in whole oranges. Within 15 minutes of drinking that juice, your blood sugar shoots up dramatically. Your pancreas panics and floods your system with insulin to try to bring those sugar levels down. But because your insulin sensitivity has decreased with age, your body needs to produce even more insulin to do the same job it used to do easily. This massive insulin response doesn't just affect your blood sugar. It triggers a cascade of inflammatory responses throughout your body. Your blood vessels begin to swell, your blood pressure rises, your heart has to work harder to pump blood through inflamed, constricted arteries. Then comes the toast. Even whole grain bread breaks down into glucose relatively quickly, especially when you're already in a high insulin state. This adds another wave of carbohydrates to a system that's already overwhelmed. Your body scrambles to produce even more insulin, creating a vicious cycle of sugar spikes and crashes. The butter adds saturated fat at the worst possible moment. When your blood sugar and insulin are already elevated, your body is more likely to store fat rather than burn it. That fat doesn't just go to your waistline. It gets deposited in your arteries, contributing to the buildup of plaque that can lead to heart attacks and strokes. The coffee creates its own set of problems. Caffeine causes your blood vessels to constrict, increasing blood pressure at exactly the moment when your heart is already under stress from processing all that sugar. It also stimulates the release of stress hormones like cortisol, which can further increase blood sugar and blood pressure. But perhaps most importantly, this combination sets you up for a dramatic energy crash about 2 hours later. When your blood sugar finally comes down from its artificial high, it often drops below normal levels. You feel tired, sluggish, maybe a little shaky. Your body craves more sugar to bring those levels back up, starting the whole cycle over again. For someone over 60, this daily roller coaster of blood sugar spikes and crashes is like taking a sledgehammer to your cardiovascular system. Day after day, year after year, it creates chronic inflammation, damages blood vessels, and puts enormous stress on your heart. The most frightening part is how normal this feels. You wake up, eat your breakfast, feel energized for a while, then crash and reach for a snack or another cup of coffee. You might blame it on age or stress or not getting enough sleep, but the real culprit is sitting right there on your breakfast table. Dorothy's story isn't unique. Millions of seniors are following this exact same pattern, believing they're making healthy choices when they're actually accelerating their journey toward heart disease. The combination of orange juice, toast and coffee has become so normalized, so accepted as a standard breakfast, that we never question whether it's actually good for us. But here's what makes this even more dangerous for seniors specifically. As we age, our bodies become less resilient. A 30-year-old might be able to handle these daily sugar spikes without immediate consequences. But for someone over 60, especially someone who might already have slightly elevated blood pressure or cholesterol, or who might be pre-diabetic without knowing it, this breakfast combination can be the tipping point that pushes them from relatively healthy to seriously at risk. The inflammation caused by these daily sugar spikes contributes to the development of atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque in arteries. The chronic stress on the cardiovascular system can lead to high blood pressure, which often goes undiagnosed until it's already caused damage. The insulin resistance that develops over time can progress to type 2 diabetes, which dramatically increases the risk of heart disease. And because these changes happen gradually, over years or even decades, by the time symptoms appear, significant damage has already been done. Dorothy's clogged arteries didn't develop overnight. They were the result of 15 years of well-intentioned but misguided breakfast choices. Now, before you panic and think you need to give up breakfast entirely, let me share some hope. The same body that can be damaged by poor choices has an amazing ability to heal when given the right fuel. Dorothy's story doesn't end with that frightening diagnosis. Once she understood what was happening, she made some simple changes that began reversing the damage almost immediately. But first, let's talk about why this particular combination is so much worse than eating any of these foods individually, and why the timing matters so much. The key to understanding why this breakfast combination is so dangerous lies in something called the glycemic load and the concept of food synergy. When you eat foods together, they don't just add up, they multiply each other's effects. Orange juice alone would cause a blood sugar spike, but it's somewhat limited by the volume you can drink. Toast alone would raise blood sugar, but more gradually. Coffee alone might increase blood pressure slightly, but temporarily. But when you combine all three, especially first thing in the morning when your body is in a fasted state, the effects don't just add up, they compound exponentially. Your body wakes up after fasting all night with relatively stable blood sugar levels. Your insulin sensitivity is actually at its highest point of the day. This is when your body is most vulnerable to dramatic swings in blood chemistry. Hitting it with a massive dose of liquid sugar, followed by more carbohydrates, followed by a stimulant, is like setting off a metabolic bomb. The timing couldn't be worse. If you ate this exact same combination in the middle of the afternoon, after you'd already eaten some protein and fiber, the effects would be significantly less dramatic. But eating it first thing in the morning, on an empty stomach, maximizes every negative effect. This is why Dorothy felt so energized initially. Her body was flooded with sugar and stimulated by caffeine. But it's also why she crashed so hard a few hours later, and why this pattern, repeated daily for years, caused so much damage to her cardiovascular system. The solution isn't to eliminate all carbohydrates or never drink coffee again. The solution is to understand how to fuel your body in a way that supports stable blood sugar, reduces inflammation, and gives your heart the best chance to stay healthy as you age. Dorothy's transformation began with a simple shift in her morning routine. Instead of starting with orange juice, she began eating a whole orange with her breakfast. The fiber in the whole fruit slowed down sugar absorption dramatically. Instead of a massive spike followed by a crash, she experienced a gentle, gradual rise in blood sugar that her body could handle much more easily. She replaced her toast with eggs and avocado. The protein from the eggs helped stabilize her blood sugar and kept her feeling full longer. The healthy fats from the avocado provided sustained energy without the dramatic ups and downs of carbohydrate-heavy foods. She still had her coffee, but she waited until after she'd eaten some protein and fat. This simple change reduced the blood pressure spike and made the caffeine work with her body instead of against it. The results were remarkable. Within 2 weeks, Dorothy noticed she had more consistent energy throughout the morning. She wasn't crashing at 10 a.m. and reaching for a snack. She felt more alert, more focused, more stable, but the real changes were happening inside her body. Her blood pressure began to normalize. Her cholesterol levels improved. The chronic inflammation that had been damaging her arteries began to subside. Her body started healing itself. 3 months later, when Dorothy returned to her cardiologist for follow-up tests, both she and her doctor were amazed. Her numbers had improved dramatically. Her blood pressure was in the normal range. Her cholesterol had dropped significantly. Most importantly, tests showed that the progression of plaque buildup in her arteries had not only stopped, but had actually begun to reverse. Her doctor was so impressed that he asked her to share her story with other patients. Dorothy had achieved something that many people believe is impossible. She had actually improved her cardiovascular health significantly simply by changing what she ate for breakfast. Now let's talk about what you can do if you recognize yourself in Dorothy's story. If you've been eating this breakfast combination or something similar, don't panic. The human body has an incredible ability to heal when given the right support. But you need to act sooner rather than later. The first step is understanding what your body actually needs first thing in the morning. After fasting all night, your body is looking for stable, sustained energy. It needs protein to maintain muscle mass and stabilize blood sugar. It needs healthy fats for hormone production and satiety. It needs fiber to support digestion and slow sugar absorption. What it doesn't need is a massive hit of liquid sugar followed by more carbohydrates and a stimulant. That's like trying to start a car by flooring the gas pedal. It might work initially, but it's going to cause damage over time. Instead of orange juice, try eating a whole orange or berries with your breakfast. The fiber makes all the difference in how your body processes the natural sugars. If you love citrus flavors, try adding lemon or lime to your water for flavor without the sugar overload. Instead of toast, focus on protein sources like eggs, Greek yogurt, or even leftover chicken or fish. These foods provide sustained energy without the blood sugar roller coaster. If you want something that feels like traditional breakfast food, try an omelette with vegetables or Greek yogurt with nuts and a small amount of berries. If you absolutely must have something bread-like, try a slice of true whole grain bread, not just wheat bread, with almond butter or avocado. The protein and fat will help slow the absorption of carbohydrates and prevent the dramatic blood sugar spike. And coffee? You can still have it, but timing matters. Wait until after you've eaten some protein and fat. This simple change can reduce the blood pressure spike and make the caffeine work more effectively for sustained energy, rather than a quick jolt followed by a crash. The goal isn't to create a perfect diet or to eliminate all enjoyment from breakfast. The goal is to fuel your body in a way that supports stable energy, reduces inflammation, and gives your cardiovascular system the best chance to stay healthy as you age. Let me share another story that might resonate with you. Robert, a 72-year-old retired engineer, had been eating the same breakfast for 20 years. A large glass of orange juice, 2 pieces of toast with jam, and coffee. He prided himself on being consistent and disciplined about his morning routine, but Robert had started noticing some troubling symptoms. His energy would crash dramatically around 10 a.m. He was gaining weight around his middle, despite eating what he thought was a reasonable breakfast. His doctor had mentioned that his blood pressure was creeping up and his cholesterol numbers weren't great. Robert was skeptical when his daughter suggested that his breakfast might be the problem. How could orange juice and toast be bad for him? He'd been eating this way for decades without any obvious problems. But when Robert learned about the connection between his breakfast choices and his health issues, he decided to try an experiment. For 1 week, he replaced his usual breakfast with scrambled eggs, half an avocado, and a small handful of berries. He still had his coffee, but he waited until after he'd finished eating. The difference was immediate and dramatic. Robert's 10 a.m. energy crash disappeared. He felt more stable and alert throughout the morning. By the end of the week, he'd lost 3 pounds without trying. His clothes fit better, he felt better. More importantly, when Robert had his blood work done 3 months later, his numbers had improved across the board. His blood pressure was down. His cholesterol was better. His doctor was amazed at the improvement. Robert's story illustrates something crucial. It's never too late to make changes that can dramatically improve your health. Your body wants to heal. It wants to function optimally. But you have to give it the right fuel. The breakfast combination of orange juice, toast, and coffee isn't just mildly unhealthy. It's actively working against your body's natural healing processes. Every morning that you start your day this way, you're setting yourself up for blood sugar spikes, inflammation, and cardiovascular stress. But here's the good news. The same body that can be damaged by poor choices responds incredibly quickly to good choices. When you start your day with protein, healthy fats, and fiber, your body gets the message that it's safe to burn fat for energy, that it doesn't need to store extra calories as fat, and that it can focus on healing and maintaining itself rather than just surviving the daily assault of sugar and caffeine. The changes don't take months or years to notice. Most people feel different within days. More energy, better mood, improved focus, less hunger between meals. These aren't just minor improvements, they're signs that your body is functioning the way it's supposed to function, and the long-term benefits are even more impressive. Stable blood sugar reduces inflammation throughout your body. Reduced inflammation means healthier blood vessels, lower risk of heart disease, and better overall health. Better blood sugar control reduces your risk of diabetes and its complications. More stable energy means you're more likely to stay active, which supports every aspect of your health. Now, let's address some common concerns and questions that come up when people learn about this breakfast combination. First, many people worry about giving up orange juice because they've been told it's a good source of vitamin C. While orange juice does contain vitamin C, you can get the same amount from eating a whole orange. Plus, you'll get fiber, which helps your body process the natural sugars more effectively. If you're concerned about vitamin C, consider that many vegetables are actually higher in vitamin C than oranges. Red bell peppers, broccoli, and strawberries all contain more vitamin C per serving than orange juice. Second, people often ask about whole grain bread. While whole grain bread is better than white bread, it's still processed carbohydrates that break down into sugar relatively quickly. For someone over 60, especially someone who might already have blood sugar issues, starting the day with any type of bread can contribute to the blood sugar roller coaster that damages cardiovascular health over time. Third, there's often concern about giving up coffee. You don't have to give up coffee entirely, but the timing matters enormously. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach amplifies its effects on blood pressure and stress hormones. Having coffee after you've eaten some protein and fat reduces these negative effects while still allowing you to enjoy the benefits of caffeine. The most important thing to understand is that these changes don't have to be perfect or permanent to be beneficial. Even small improvements can make a significant difference in how you feel and in your long-term health outcomes. If you're used to drinking a large glass of orange juice, try cutting it in half and eating half an orange. If you typically have 2 pieces of toast, try having 1 piece with almond butter instead of regular butter. If you drink coffee first thing in the morning, try waiting until after you've eaten something. These small changes can begin to break the cycle of blood sugar spikes and crashes that are slowly damaging your cardiovascular system. As you start to feel better, you'll naturally want to make more changes. Health improvements build on themselves, but perhaps most importantly, remember that you're not just changing what you eat, you're changing how you age. The choices you make at breakfast don't just affect how you feel for the next few hours. They affect how your body ages, how your heart functions, and how you feel as you get older. Dorothy and Robert both thought they were stuck with declining health as they aged. They assumed that rising blood pressure, increasing cholesterol, and decreasing energy were just natural parts of getting older. But when they changed their breakfast choices, they discovered that many of the things they attributed to aging were actually the result of poor nutrition choices. This is one of the most empowering realizations you can have, that you have much more control over how you age than you might think. Your body wants to be healthy. It wants to function well. It wants to give you energy and vitality, but you have to work with it, not against it. Starting your day with a massive dose of sugar followed by more carbohydrates and a stimulant is working against your body's natural rhythms and needs. But starting your day with protein, healthy fats and fiber is working with your body to support optimal function and long-term health. The choice is yours. You can continue with the breakfast combination that's slowly damaging your cardiovascular system, or you can make simple changes that will begin healing your body almost immediately. Your heart has been working tirelessly for decades to keep you alive and healthy. It deserves to be supported with nutrition choices that make its job easier, not harder. Every morning is a new opportunity to choose health, to choose vitality, to choose to age in a way that allows you to enjoy life to the fullest. The breakfast combination of orange juice, toast, and coffee might seem harmless, but for someone over 60, it's a recipe for cardiovascular disaster. The good news is that simple changes can begin reversing the damage almost immediately. Your body is waiting for you to make the choice to support it rather than sabotage it. The question isn't whether you can afford to make these changes. The question is whether you can afford not to. Your heart, your health, and your future self will thank you for making the choice to start your day in a way that supports your body's natural healing processes rather than working against them. If this information has opened your eyes to the hidden dangers in your breakfast routine, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Have you been eating this breakfast combination? Are you ready to make some changes? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take control of their health. And if you found this information valuable, please share it with friends and family who might benefit from understanding how their breakfast choices are affecting their heart health. Sometimes the most powerful gift we can give someone is knowledge that can change their life. Remember, it's never too late to make changes that can dramatically improve your health. Your body has an amazing ability to heal when given the right support. The choice to start supporting it begins with your very next meal.